What's up? Coming at you with another commentary here today. Um, First things first, I'd like to talk about the Muppets being on Monday Night Raw. I'm not mad that the Muppets are going to be on Raw. People are asking me, "Yo, man, what the hell is wrong? Like, how can you not be liking the Muppets on Raw?" I just think the whole thing is comical. I think it's hysterical that the Muppets are going to be on Monday Night Raw, and what is even funnier is seeing wrestling fans just being all like, "Oh my God, it's the end of the world. Oh my God." Guys, here's what you got to do. In order for the WWE to get better, you have to quit supporting their bullshit. Meaning no merchandise, no nothing. You have to pretty much give up on WWE. But we all know that we all cannot do that. There's going to come a day and time, I'm not going to lie, I won't be watching WWE anymore for the simple fact is I've watched it too long and I know pretty much everything that's going to happen storyline wise. It's all already been done. Every single storyline you see today has been done to death. So to me, this is nothing new. This is nothing innovative. This is nothing exciting. This is nothing cool. Wrestling is just not cool anymore. There's no reason to even freak out about shit like this because here's the fact, Attitude Era people. It's time to move the fuck on. There's nothing more I can say to you other than that. Them doing this thing with having the Muppets on Raw is because they're trying to cater to a new generation of fans. Do I agree with the Muppets being on Raw? In a sense, yeah. In a sense, for that reason that I just stated. But do I think the Muppets should be on Raw just because it's a wrestling entertainment program? No, not really. I just know for a fact I'm going to boycott that episode. And if you all don't really want to see the Muppets on Raw, do the fucking same. Boycott that episode. And WWE might learn something. But who knows? Okay, the main topic now ECW. I just got through watching The Rise and Fall of ECW. Awesome documentary. Uh, containing interviews from like Tommy Dreamer, Don Marie, the Dudley Boys, Stevie Richards, Paul Heyman, the mastermind himself. Just a bunch of people that chronicle over everything in ECW. And it got me really just thinking about, the nostalgia days. I mean, ECW was the promotion that, was all a part of like the NWA and shit like that. And it's just like now, you know, Shane Douglas, the first memory I ever really had of ECW was when he beat Too Cold Scorpio and he threw the belt down and just was pissed off. And from then on, it was the era of Extreme. And they still kept Todd Gordon around as the figurehead, the president of ECW, while Paul Heyman was actually the owner of the company and shit like that. And it's just like, man, how times have just changed. Back in the 90s, it was all, like I said, the world was changing with the edgier music and video games and just movies, music, TV, things like that. Stuff you'll never really see today. Um, I think some of my favorite moments from ECW would have to be Taz and Sabu. Taz Sabu was just an awesome rivalry. Taz did everything he could to call out Sabu and fight him and curse him out and just, you know, fucking torment Sabu, play mind games with Sabu, do what he could to get Sabu to face him after a year's worth of buildup. Shit like that you'd probably never see in wrestling today. It's very rare that you see a year's worth of buildup. I know they're doing this shit with John Cena and Rock now, and I know Ring of Honor does it, but stuff like this you would never really see today built up to that degree. Um, and Taz beat him, and then Bill Alfonso turned on Taz, and he formed an alliance with RVD Sabu. Speaking of RVD Sabu, another favorite moment of mine from the original ECW was Jerry Lawler invading and the Tommy Dreamer Raven feud. Tommy Dreamer Raven, they were kids. Bill McGillicuddy got involved. Tommy Dreamer could never beat Raven ever, not once. And then he finally beat him on Raven's last night with ECW for the time being. And then Jerry Lawler caned Tommy Dreamer right in the nuts, and he had to go to the hospital for that. And I was like, ooh, boy. That was the epitome of hardcore right there. Tommy Dreamer, legend. Mick Foley. What can I say about Mick Foley? Mick Foley, Terry Funk. Two of the craziest bastards to ever be involved in pro wrestling, period. Just with Mick Foley doing elbow dives off the apron, Mick Foley doing elbow drops anywhere, uh, chairs, DDTs. What can you think of? Pile drivers, flaming tables, barbed wire. Mick Foley, Terry Funk, two amazing people. Terry Funk, my favorite memory of ECW of all time was when Terry Funk won the ECW title from Raven. I will never forget that moment in ECW history. And those are just really some of my favorite moments. The Dudleys, greatest heel tag team possibly ever in the history of wrestling. But like everything else, ECW died. And it was because of the fact that talent weren't getting paid, and TNN pretty much fucked them over. And Paul Heyman, I will give the guy his credit. Great wrestling mind. One of the greatest wrestling minds of all time. But the thing is, Paul Heyman didn't want to let anybody control the finances. It was Paul's baby. Paul was raising ECW, and it got so high and so huge, it became that company that could be, that could even surpass WWE on some levels. And I think that was Paul's dream, but he never had that dream because the violence had a lot to do with it. The violence had a lot to do with why ECW was never really going to get anywhere. Networks weren't going to take that, I don't think. ECW would have had to really tone down on the violence. And two, mismanagement. Paul didn't want to let anybody touch the money but him. And speaking of Paul Heyman, it brings up the question, will Paul Heyman ever come back to pro wrestling? Me personally, I don't think so. I think the last straw was when Vince McMahon bought the ECW brand and recreated it. The WWE's version of ECW wasn't really all that bad, but you knew for the original ECW, it was pretty much over. One Night Stand '05 was considered by many fans the true end of ECW. I consider the true end of ECW was when RVD finally won the ECW title. That was the end right there. I'm like, yeah, okay. Seeing RVD win the ECW title was like a moment that was like, finally, he did it. He won the ECW belt. He became an ECW champion. He did it. And that was just one of my all-time favorite moments. And don't get me wrong, the new ECW brought out guys like John Morrison, CM Punk, Kofi Kingston, Evan Bourne, Zack Ryder, despite the fact I don't like him, but, they brought out a bunch of young talent. That was the good thing for ECW. But, if Paul Heyman was still in wrestling today, I don't think he would really have much to say today in the business because it's like, yeah, he knows what to do with it. He has a structure, he has a game plan. Unlike TNA, they don't have that game plan. Paul Heyman, he was going to go to TNA. They were going to bring him in. Paul wanted it just to be like ECW. That was how he wanted it. He wanted the control, like he had control of ECW. And Dixie Carter's like, oh, no, absolutely not. And the thing about Dixie is, Dixie refuses to let people go. She doesn't want to let people go. Dixie, you got to be that ruthless boss sometimes. It's just how it is in the world. You got to be ruthless. You can't have it any other way. But the thing is if Paul Heyman never stepped foot into wrestling again, I think he'd be okay with that, and I think I'd be okay with it. But wrestling fans do need that true alternative, which is why tonight Ring of Honor airs. I don't get it, but I will be supporting it by watching it online. And I just want to say, Paul, ECW, thank you for giving us Eddie Guerrero, Chris Benoit, Dean Malenko, Perry Saturn, The Sandman, Raven, Tommy Dreamer, Rhino, RVD, Jerry Lynn, New Jack, the Dudley Boys, Sabu, Taz, Terry Funk, Mick Foley, the greatest superstar, the biggest superstar of all time, Stone Cold Steve Austin, and many others. And without you, wrestling would not have gone through the period that it did today. And All I could say on behalf of all wrestling fans is we thank you, and we hope to hell that we do get another true alternative someday. That's what I want to see. I want to see the wrestling business succeed. I want to see competition again. That's why people are complaining. Like, I could see it now. People are complaining because it's like, oh, the guest host crap. It's PG. They're not catering to us. Guys, let's just face it. We've had our time. Wrestling is not really cool anymore. And it's a new generation of fans. And it's time for us to move on. That's all I got to say. Support Ring of Honor, support MMA. If you're frustrated with WWE and TNA, those are your two alternatives that you have. Go to those alternatives. Hope you guys enjoyed this video and this commentary. Peace out.